And this is part two. And not only was there a great fire of Boston and a great fire of New York, but there was also a great fire of Philadelphia. July 9th, 1850, not the one mentioned in the first search result from 1861. This fire, which started on the waterfront, was a major conflagration that destroyed hundreds of buildings and resulted in numerous casualties. It was a significant event in Philadelphia's history, impacting the city's infrastructure and economy. The 1850 fire, another fire, huge fire in the 1800s. This is ushering in the New World Order. Cause: the fire likely started from a fire in a warehouse containing pressed hay, which ignited and spread rapidly. It destroyed approximately 367 houses and stores, impacting an area between Front and Callowhill Street. Estimates suggest at least 28 lives were lost, including firefighters and individuals who jumped into the river from the flames. And so, they say things like this because they want me to be a jerk. Anyone that exposes them and their stories that don't make any sense, they want you to say, but firefighters died in that fire. Well, guess what? My grandfather was the police chief in Boston in the early 1900s. I sympathize with firefighters, and I have nothing but respect for firefighters. I don't think firefighters have done anything wrong. And today's firefighters, they don't know that our history is a big movie, a big show to usher in the New World Order. They don't know that. You can't be mad at the firefighters. And I'm not saying that fires don't exist. Fires do exist. Lots of fires exist. Lots of fires happen. And maybe during these events, some things were on fire. It's possible. But I'm talking about the intent, and I'm talking about what started this, and I'm talking about that there's a high likelihood that these were planned to destroy the remains of the past civilization to bring in the new civilization. Because remember, after all these fires, now all of a sudden the 1900s roll around, and guess what they do? They bring in the Fed. They bring in taxes. The tax system where they're going to tax everybody, income taxes. And now, and they're also going to do the Department of Education, and rich people are going to put their money behind education because they want to make sure everybody gets an education, because they want to make sure to control the reality of every single person. When you hear things like they had a thing when I was a kid, it was no child left behind. We're going to make sure every kid goes to school, and if you go to school, we're even going to give you free lunch if you can't afford to bring your own lunch, and if you can't afford to buy lunch, you can get a free lunch. We just want to make sure everybody goes to school. It's actually the law to go to school. And when you go to school, you learn. It's like flashcard learning. If I tell you that 1 + 1 = 2, and I tell you that there's a test, and you're going to be smart and get good grades, and to pass the test, you need to answer the questions correctly. And I told you the answer of 1 + 1 is 2. When I give you the test and it says, what is 1 + 1? You're going to say 2 because you want to pass the test. Okay? But math, it's probably not the best example because we know that 1 + 1 is 2. If you take 1 and take another 1, now you have 2. But that's just an example of just the system and how it works. And this is what they do with history. This is what they do with science. They tell you, hey, the first astronauts that went to the moon was Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and Michael Collins. Okay? Now we're going to test you on it. Who was the first astronaut to step foot on the moon? And you're going to say Neil Armstrong. Okay, who was the second astronaut to step foot on the moon? You're going to say Buzz Aldrin. And who was the astronaut that orbited the moon while Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were prancing around the moon, calling back to the president and playing golf and not taking any pictures of the Earth ever. Like, why aren't you filming Earth? Like, when that's a no-brainer. You're gonna film Earth. Holy crap! If you're on the moon, you're gonna say, "Holy crap! Look at Earth. Look at it. Look how amazing it is from the moon." But they don't have that because they can't do that because they're not really on the moon. They're in a studio. But when you're in class, you're gonna answer the question with the answer that's gonna help you pass the test. And your parents, they did the same thing. You're going to go home and you're going to say, look, I got an A. I got an A+. I got all the answers. I got all the questions right. And your parents are going to say, good job. They're not going to say, what are you doing? That's not right. They never really went to the moon. What parents are going to do that? Your parents want you to do good in school because that's how we were trained. Because they've been running this mind control system on us for over 150 years. You know, and I'm just showing you that they basically burned down the world and they rebuilt it. They took all the technology, all of it, and now they've been slowly giving it back to us, little by little, and making their people the heroes, the inventors, the scientists that are figuring all these things out. It's like if the world ended now and you got to survive and there was a new civilization that came and they didn't know anything, you literally know everything that was already here, know everything that happened. You can create your own sports. You can create your own music genres. You can say, hey, this is the type of music. If you want this music, you can literally build a society. And they'd be like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. He came up with all these ideas for music and movies and in science, and he knows all these different things. This guy is a genius. You know, but really it's because you already had all the answers. And you give it to them little by little. And you're going to say, oh, yeah, we're going to have telephones. We're going to talk on the phone. You know? So, and they didn't just know about those things. They know how they worked. They learned the system. They were invited in, learned the system. And then they probably backstabbed the empire that was ruling. You know? And at the same time, I understand why they can't tell the truth to everybody. Because the truth is powerful. We're powerful people. Very, very powerful. The truth is very powerful. There's things that we can do that are very powerful. So they can't just go giving away all the truth. Because then it's going to get into the wrong hands. And if it gets into the wrong hands, it can be used for bad, for evil. But the problem is, these people, they're using it for a lot of evil. They're using it for a lot of bad. They're burning down cities still to this day. But let me get back to where I was. There was also a great fire in Baltimore, Maryland, from Sunday, February 7th to Monday, February 8th, 1904. In the fire, more than 1,500 buildings were completely leveled and some 1,000 severely damaged, bringing property loss from a disaster to an estimated 100 million. So, look at this. Look at the city. They're destroying the cities. Destroying them. And this is about the fires in Michigan, the great fires of the Midwest, from October 8th to October 10th, 1871, which is crazy because isn't that the same time as the Chicago fires? I guess, okay, the most famous fire struck Chicago. So that was, okay, so these all happened at once, and that claimed 300 lives while destroying over 3 square miles of the city, including more than 17,000 buildings. For many years, the cause of the fire was attributed to a cow housed in a barn in 137 Beekman Street. The cow, it says that it purportedly knocked over a lantern and set everything ablaze. The reporter later admitted to fabricating the blaze. The reporter admitted to fabricating the story, but it continues to endure the popular culture. The actual cause of the fire. See, now they're going, the actual cause of the fire. So it's like, someone tried to lie to you, but he admitted he was lying. But the real story is this. And that's how they get you. That's how they now you're like, oh yeah, that fire? Oh, there was a story that it was started by this, but it was actually this. You know? They make people think they're so smart because they actually know the truth, but none of it's true. That's crazy. All right. Wow. Wow. That was a fast 10 minutes.